Okay. Good morning, class.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Sir
Sir Ford
Welcome
Santiago.
to my class. Good morning. Please sit down. Please sit down. Okay. Our lesson for today is, of course, history. Again, welcome to the history class. I want to know if you have already known the places, the historical places here in the Philippines. Okay. Anyone can give an example and explain it. Okay. Miss Arola.
Did you know that Jose Cortez Locsin Ancestral House is a heritage house pursuant to Board Resolution Number 3 dated April 6, 1993 of the National Historical Institution of Republic of the Philippines. It was located at Silay City, Negros Occidental, Region 6.
Thank you, Miss Arola. Next one.
Sir. Sir, BRAZA, sir. Sir Ford. Sir.
Mr. BRAZA.
Sir, I have the information about the Friendship Landmark because it is a war memorial in the Pili, Camarines Sur, Philippines. It is located at the Mount Isarog in Sitio Bongkao of Barangay Curry. So during the Second World War, the Japanese Imperial Force made a stronghold out of the natural cave found at Bongkao Hill. Okay? So it is a landmark was installed at the site through the joint efforts of the Isarog Kai and inaugurated on October 23, 1985. Okay, so that is to commemorate the end of the war and the post-war Japan-Philippines relations. So that is the information about the Philippine-Japanese Friendship Landmark, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very expressive. Expressive. Very expressive. Mr. BRAZA, sit down.
Sir.
Mr. DIMAYUGA.
Did you know that General Juan Araneta Historical Landmark? This shrine is built in honor of the late General Juan Araneta, who fought for Negros Occidental independence on November 5, 1898. It is called as Negros Revolution that happened during the Spanish colonial rule of island.
Thank you, Mr. DIMAYUGA. You may sit down.
Sir Ford. The Herman Lacson Gaston Heritage House is located in Silay City, Negros Occidental, which is known for its ancestral and heritage houses, and it is called as the Parish of Negros. The house represents an interesting combination of bahay na bato and American colonial style. The horizontal clapboard sidings are inspired by American architecture, but the capiche shells windows on the ground floor and ventanillas with wooden balusters are very Spanish. The second floor boasts colored glass, iron grills, and Art Deco brackets. The decorative stair balusters and veranda on both floors were also development during the American period. This heritage house is just one of many ancestral houses of rich people in the Philippines on the 1900s that we can still see up to this day.
Okay? Thank you, Mr. Lucero.
Sir.
Oh, you, Mr. Rizal.
Did you know that Jose P. Laurel monuments are located in the different areas, including one from Santo Tomas, Batangas, and outside of Gateway Hotel in Siargao? It is a small statue commemorating and honoring his achievement.
Thank you, Mr. Rizal. Who else?
Sir Ford Santiago.
Miss Manalo.
The Luneta Hotel is a historical hotel in La, named after its location across from Luneta or Rizal Park on Calo Avenue in Ermita. It is one of the remaining structures that survived the liberation of Manila in 1945. The hotel is completed in 1919. The hotel was designed by the Spanish architect engineer Salvador Farr. This structure is only remaining example of French Renaissance architecture. After being closed and abandoned on 1987, the hotel was relaunched in May 2014 with the installation of a historical marker by the National Historical Commission of the Philippines. And that is the Luneta Hotel. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Miss Manalo. Okay, next one.
Sir.
Okay, Miss Hernandez.
Leyte Landing Site, or MacArthur Leyte Landing Memorial National Park. It is also known as the Leyte Landing Memorial Park and the MacArthur Park. It is protected area of the Philippines that commemorates the historic landing of General Douglas MacArthur in Leyte Gulf at the start of the campaign to recapture and liberate the Philippines from Japanese occupation on October 20, 1944. So this event led to the largest naval battle of World War II. It is also the world's largest naval battle in terms of gross tonnage sunk. Japan's eventual defeat and surrender after almost 3 years. The War Memorial is located in the municipality of Palo on Leyte Island in Eastern Visayas and is one of the region's major tourist attractions. So it was declared as a national park on July 12, 1977 through the letter of instruction number 572 that was signed by our former President Ferdinand Marcos. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Miss Hernandez. Sorry. You, Mr. Joaquin, why are you late?
Sir, good morning, sir.
Before you sit down, you should give a place, historical place.
One place, okay? Meehan Garden. It is an open space in Manila, Philippines. It was established in 1858 by Spanish colonial authorities as a botanical garden called Jardín Buntasio outside the walled city. Sir, sorry, I'm late. Can I sit down, sir?
Okay, Mr. Joaquin, you may sit down.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, anyone? Another one. Until your brain is drained about the historical places that you know here in the Philippines. Raise your hand, everybody.
Sir Ferd, Sir Gina Lina po. Sir Ferd.
O sige, ikaw, Alina.
Did you know that the Makapagal Ancestral House is considered as the first house in the Philippines where two of the country's president lived? Diosdado Macapagal, the 9th President of the Philippines, and Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, the 13th President of the Philippines, used to live in this. Then, rest house as a Vice President, father, and daughter. The Macapagal Macareg Ancestral House has been declared a heritage house by the National Historical Institute last August 14, 2002. Now, the Macaraeg Macapagal Ancestral House is considered as one of illegal tourist destination. Although, not a lot of foreigners are eager to see this place because of the security issues in Mindanao. This is still visited by a lot of locals, mostly by the students from the nearby provinces who are in field trip and doing research work. It is considered as one of the classy houses in the city of Iligan. This Macaraeg Macapagal Ancestral House has been continually maintained by the city government to add to its tourism portfolio. Many of the previous administrations, Arroyos, cabinet meetings are held here. Occasional activities such as seminars, birthdays are held here, and it's considered as a rest house for friends and families of the Macaraeg, Macapagal, and Arroyo. Thank you, Sir Ford.
Sige, Hernandez.
So, Marsala Augustine Historical Landmark. The historical landmark of Marsala Augustine is located in Marsala and Agustilio Street, Taal, Batangas. So, the street is obviously derived from her name. So, the site marks the birthplace of Marsala Augustine, one of the three makers of the first official Filipino flag during the Philippine Revolution against the Spanish authorities. So the different flags of the revolutions are prominently displayed in this place together with the family's collections of photographs, furniture, and memorabilia of the Agoncillos family. So the same flag was raised at the balcony of the house of General Emilio Aguinaldo during the proclamation of Philippine Independence Day from Spain on June 12, 1898. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. So, sige, Joaquin. Sige na, Joaquin.
Okay, sir. The Lopez Heritage House, sir. The Lopez Heritage House is the Mansion de Lopez, or otherwise known as the Meehan Gardens, is a national heritage house built in 1928 at Jaro, Iloilo. It is made by Ilonggo Seisman's Don Vicente Lopez and his wife's Doña Elena Hufiliña. The mansion was named after the couple's eldest daughter, Nelly Lopez E. Hufiliña, due to its grandiose architecture highlighting the province's aristocratic past. It is regarded by a queen of the heritage houses in Iloilo. On March 28, 2004, it was declared as a National Historical Landmark by a National Historical Institute. And that is the Lopez Heritage House, sir.
Thank you, Joaquin. O, Leonor, ikaw naman.
General Aniceto Lacson Historical Landmark, also known as the Casa Grande, the treasured house of the President Aniceto Ledesma Lacson. Aniceto Lacson E. Ledesma was born on April 17, 1857 and died on February 13, 1931. He was the Philippine sugar baron and a revolutionary general. He is notable for leading the Negros Revolution along with Juan Araneta and for being the president of the short-lived Republic of Negros in 1898. He built the Casa Grande in 1880s as a fruit of his labor and now is deemed as the most grandest ancestral house in the Philippines. The Lacson Ancestral House was declared a national monument by National Historical Commission on March 13, 2002. The house is situated in Hacienda Maria del Rosario in Barangay Zone 15, Talisay City, Negros Occidental.
Miss OROLA.
The Manila Elks Club was founded after the Spanish-American War ended in 1898, which resulted in the transfer of the Spanish Philippines to the United States control. In 1901, a group of Americans unbridled entrepreneurial possibilities and yearning for camaraderie and solidarity petitioned the National Elks Organization to allow the founding of an Elks Club on American soil in the Philippines.
Thank you, Miss OROLA. Next one.
Sir.
Mr. BRAZA.
Sir, okay. So, in this church, which is the DIMAYUGA Church, it is also known as the Santo Tomas de Villanueva Parish Church. Okay? So, it is a Roman Catholic church located, of course, in Miagao, Iloilo, Philippines. So, the church was declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site on December 11, 1993, together with San Agustin Church in Manila, as well as the Nuestra Señora de la Asunción Church in Santa Maria, Ilocos Sur, and the San Agustin Church in Paway, Ilocos Norte. So, that is under the collective title Baroque Churches of the Philippines. So, it is a collection of 4 Baroque Spanish-era churches. Okay? So, there's a lot of churches here in the Philippines, and the Miagao Church is one of the famous churches of this. Okay? So, that is some information about the Miagao Church. Thank you, sir.
Mr. BRAZA, sit up.
Sir.
Mr. DIMAYUGA.
Jose Ledesma Heritage House made in 1917. This house is head-turners among passers-by, and it is also one of the most picturesque sites in city of Silay. This ancestral house is registered with the National Historical Institute as the Heritage House. Sila is often referred to as Parish of Negros due to its arches, cultural shows, and large collection of perfectly preserved heritage houses. More than 30 of these well-preserved ancestral houses has been declared historical landmarks and are the main attraction in Silay.
Thank you, Mr. DIMAYUGA. You may sit down.
Sir Ford,
Mr. Lucero,
did you know that the San Agustin Parish Church, also known as the Lubao Church, is from the 17th century? It has a neoclassic Spanish stone and brick style which dates back to the time of the Spaniards in the Philippines. It is located at Barangay San Nicolas I, Lubao, Pampanga in the Philippines. This church was first built by Father Juan Gallegos using light materials, and the present brick and adobe church was started by Father Francisco Coronel, continued by Father Jeronimo de Benasque in 1635, and completed by Father Figueroa in 1638.
thank you, Mr. Lucero.
Sir.
Oh, you, Mr. Objal.
Did you know that Fort San Felipe in Spanish, it is called La Fortaleza de San Felipe, while in Filipino, it is known as Moog ng San Felipe Neri. It is a military fortress in Cavite City, in the province of Cavite, Philippines. It was constructed by the Spanish military in 1609 in the first port town of Cavite.
Thank you, Mr. Objal. Who else?
Sir Ford Santiago.
Miss Manalo.
The Cathedral of Our Lady of the Assumption of Maasin, commonly known as the Maasin City Cathedral, is a Baroque Roman Catholic church in Maasin City, southern Leyte, Philippines. The cathedral also houses a 200-year-old antique statue of the Nuestra Señora de la Asunción de Maasin, or known as the Pastrana.
Thank you, Miss Manalo. Okay, next one.
Sir Ford!
O sige, ikaw, Alina.
Sir! Did you know that San Agustin Church, popularly known as a Dumangas Church, was declared a national landmark by the National Historical Institute? The Gothic style of the church was made of the red bricks and coral stones. It was constructed in 1887 and finished in 1895. The predominant design is a Gothic with flame-like arcs of the main entrances and windows.
Thank you, Alina. Oh, Leonor.
Fort Santiago is a 16th century citadel, a national landmark, and a shrine to the hard-won freedom of the Philippines. The solid stone structure has an Italian-Spanish architectural style. Miguel Lopez de Legazpi built the fort for the newly established Manila City in 1593.
Miss OROLA.
Emilio Aguinaldo Shrine was located at Kawit, Cavite. This historical house witnessed the first proclamation of the Philippines' independence in June 12, 1898. Built in 1845, it is an ancestral home of Emilio Aguinaldo, first president of the Philippines.
Thank you, Miss OROLA. Next one.
Sir Santiago.
Mr. BRAZA.
Sir, about the George Barlin National Monument, did you know that it is also known as George Barlin Imperial, George Alfonso Imperial Barlin, and George Barlin E. Imperial? They're the following Spanish naming customs. Okay? So, he was the first Filipino consecrated a bishop in the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? So, he served as Archbishop of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Caceres in the Philippines.
Mr. Brasasita.
Sir,
Mr. DIMAYUGA.
Libingan ng mga bayani National Shrine. The cemetery was first established in May 1947 as the Republic Memorial Cemetery. It was first established as a tribute and final resting place for the 33,520 to 58,780 Filipino soldiers who died during the Philippine Campaign in 1941 to 1942.
Thank you, Mr. DIMAYUGA. You may sit down.
Sir,
Mr. Lucero.
the Gregorio Aglipe Shrine is located at Pinilian, Batak, in Ilocos Norte. The shrine was built in dedication to Gregorio Aglipe, who stood squarely behind the oppressed people of God. He was known for the foundation of Iglesia Filipina Independiente, or the Philippine Independent Church, and for being the first military chaplain of the Philippine Revolution in 1896. He was an activist Roman Catholic priest from Ilocos Norte.
Thank you, Mr. Lucero.
Sir.
Oh, you, Mr. Objal.
Molo Church is a well-known Spanish colonial church and heritage site located in the Molo district. It is known for its prominent red spires that crown its tall bell tower and as the feminist church because of the all-woman ensemble of saints represented in 16 statues perched on the aisle pillars.
Thank you, Mr. Objal. Who else?
Sir Fort Santiago. The Rizal Monument. It was planned and constructed during the American colonial period of the Philippines in the early 20th century. The Rizal Monument, which contained the mortal remains of Dr. Moserisa, the national hero of the Philippines, who was executed near here by a firing squad.
Thank you, Miss Manalo. Okay, next one.
Sir.
Okay, Miss Hernandez.
So, Modesto Ramirez Hujilia Heritage House. So, the two-story Modesto Ramirez Hujilia Ancestral House, a Vow Art style house currently owned by Carlos Javilosa Gilandoni Sr., was built in 1920. So it is an example of an American-era adaptation of the classic Bahay na Bato, which was influenced by 19th century or salt shaker houses.
Miss Hernandez, sorry. Sir, me. Limasawa Shrine.
O ikaw, Joaquin.
Limasawa Shrine?
Pati information ha.
Information? Limasawa Shrine is an historic that the first Christian Mass in the Parish was celebrated in the island of March 31, 1521. In 1994, Fidel Ramos V. approved the Republic Act 7822 declaring the Limasawa as a tourist zone in 1994. Did you know, sir, that Limasawas came from? I don't know. But I think it's because of the mishearing of the Spanish in the local. Okay, next one.
Sir
Sige, Alina, ikaw.
I will give you the brief history of General Leandro Fulon National Shrine. Did you know that on March 13, 1877, General Leandro Fulon, a revolutionary leader and the liberator of Antique during the Philippine Revolution, was born on Hamtic, Antique? Before the Filipino-American War broke out, General Leandro was appointed by Emilio Aguinaldo.
Thank you. Ikaw naman, Leonor.
Bradford Memorial Chapel, also known as Matilda Bradford Memorial Chapel, is a Protestant church located in Cebu City. It was considered as the oldest Presbyterian church in Cebu. It was built in 1912.
Miss Orola.
The San Isidro Labrador Parish Church, commonly known as the BRAZA Church, is a Roman Catholic church in the municipality of Lazi, Siquijor, within the jurisdiction of the Diocese of Dumaguete. It became an independent parish in 1857.
Thank you, Miss Orola. Next one.
Sir Ford, Did you know that the Ermita Chapel in Dumangas, Iloilo was declared as a historical landmark on the year 1989? It was by the virtue of Presidential Decree 260 on August 1, 1973. It was amended by the Presidential Decree 375 on January 14, 1974, and Presidential Decree 1505 on June 11, 1978. The Ermita Chapel was known to be the ruins of First Stone Church in Panay.
Okay, it seems that you know all the heritage parks here in the Philippines. You already know it, you already saw it, you already came to it. Okay? That's the end of our class. Total, alam nyo naman lahat, hindi na natin na lesson. Okay? Bye-bye!